Hi everyone, welcome. And as you see, I have the AirLess machine by Resiners. They sent me one to try out, so thank you to them. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. It's very straightforward, very easy to use, and I will just go through everything with you as I do it. I'm going to use my Let's Resin casting resin today. It's a 1:1 ratio resin, so it's thicker than their deep pour. And I want something that will incorporate more bubbles as I stir so we can see how well it does. So I'm going to do just 4 ounces total. And instead of doing just a plain clear piece, I'm gonna put in some transparent dye just to color it. Okay, so I'm gonna finish mixing my resin and I will be back. Okay, so I've mixed for 5 to 6 minutes like I normally do, mixing at the same pace I normally do. And I also decided to put in some very fine flakes that are lightweight. And there are a lot of air bubbles. So we will see how this machine does. Okay, I'm going handheld because the angle you guys are in is not very good. So I'm going to put in my cup. I don't want to get a whole bunch of resin on this thing already. I'm going to put on the top. I'm going to make sure the seal is closed. Put on the top. I'm sorry my chair is so loud. This cord is really short, unfortunately. Let me move this. Okay, I got it plugged in. Now let's turn it on. And I'm just gonna cover my face in the chrome right there. On. And I'm gonna do it for 9 minutes. And then after 3 seconds, it'll start. Okay, so as you heard, it finished. When it beeps, that means it's finished, and then it turns off. So now I'm going to reach back and release the valve. There we go. And then they say to wait at least 30 seconds before opening up the whole thing. Okay, I've loosened the top so I can take it off with one hand. Put that down. And let's look at this resin. Very, very, very clear. And then obviously these surface bubbles I can easily pop myself, but in the resin I'm kind of looking through the camera as well as with my actual eyes in real life, but I don't really see anything. And even if there were still a few bubbles, that's nothing compared to what it was right after I mixed. So I'm about to pour this in whatever mold I decide to use, and then I will come back when it's ready to demold. Okay, so these are some of the molds I decided to pour that resin in. They're all cured, so I'm just gonna start demolding them. I don't see any bubbles that I can tell. There's one. Looks like it got stuck on the side of the mold. But as far as inside the resin, I don't really see any bubbles. I keep thinking I do, but that's just the glitter. And then I decided to pour in one of these skull molds because 1:1 resin tends to cling around the edges. So let's see how that looks. I guess I should have kept it clear and not put those flakes in because I keep saying, oh, there's a bubble, there's bubbles, but there's no bubbles. It's just the glitter at different angles. And I don't see any bubbles clinging around the edges back here, so that's awesome. No bubbles around the cheeks, eyes and nose, teeth. Super clear. I'm trying to get it so you're not getting all that light reflected. And then this. And there is one bubble, but I'm gonna let that slide. It was at the surface. And so is this one. These two. I should have taken a little bit of time to run something along this edge where bubbles like to cling. So I will take fault with that. I think if I did that, there would be no bubbles there. Because there aren't bubbles anywhere else. And honestly, even with those small bubbles there, that's a night and day difference between what it used to look like. Let me see if I can find an example. Here's an example of, I'm pretty sure it's with the same resin because I always use the LullaBelleCreation resin, casting resin. All those bubbles. So, night and day difference. And then this mold right here is always a pain in the butt to pour because bubbles like to cling to the etching and then they make air holes all along the etching. I only had to get rid of a couple bubbles and then there's nothing else and it's all smooth. No bubbles. So maybe I'll pour in this mold more often now. But yeah, bubble free. So the Resiners AirLess machine is perfect for when you want to pour clear or translucent layers or just making a bubble free casting in general. especially when using 1-to-1 resin that creates air bubbles when you mix. I would say this works best with thinner 1-to-1 resins like casting resins and not so much tabletop resins. I feel like tabletop resins are too thick to allow all of the bubbles to release unless you do like multiple cycles, and at that point, what's the point, right? So I would just stick to casting resins. And I recently purchased some resin I haven't tried yet, Clearcast 7050. I've used Clearcast 7000 and Liquid Diamonds, so I just wanted to try 7050 as well. I poured this morning, and I'm looking in the clear areas and I see a ton of micro bubbles. So I'm definitely gonna pour another bowl with the same resin after running that resin through the AirLess machine and see how much it improves. Obviously I haven't popped it out yet. I don't know how bad it is with the bubbles, but again, I want to see how it is with a slightly thicker resin than the less resin casting resin. And even though I said I would stick to casting resin to use in the AirLess machine, I think they advertise 7050 as a coating resin. Let me see. Yeah, they do. They call it coating resin. But when I mixed it, it wasn't that thick. It wasn't terribly thick. Oops. So, you know what? I'm gonna try it anyway. Scratch what I said. Use whatever resin that you feel like it will work with. But again, tabletop resins are pretty thick and the bubbles probably won't release as well as the thinner resins. So thank you so much to the Resiners team for sending me this to try out. I love it. I will definitely be using this whenever I want clear resin, like in my skulls, you know, doing a clear layer and then a color layer or whatever it is I'm deciding to do. And then I bought a bunch of these different bodies. So I obviously want somewhat clear resin within the piece, you know? It'll just look better. So I will be using this machine frequently. And I think that's it for this video. I feel like I'm just kind of rambling on at this point. But thank you for watching as always. And I will see you when I see you. Bye.